Great. Thank you very much, Rel, and thank you everyone for joining us today to our session, Metadata Enrichment Using AI, a first glance at research and findings. Today we have two wonderful speakers, and I'm delighted to introduce Elizabeth York, a new resources librarian at Rutgers University, and David Hanegbi, the manager at content operations at Libris. Okay. As part of the Data Excellence Initiative at Libris, we started a journey to improve the quality of CZ-BIB records. Now, this journey brought us to evaluate AI and what it can do to achieve this goal. AI it has been around for quite a while in various applications, and it has the potential to bring positive impact on CZ-BIB records. In this session, we'll take you on this path, which explores what we did so far with AI for improving BIB records, as well as the librarian perspective on this endeavor.
So thank you, Tamar, and welcome all. It's great to have this session today. So we'll dive into and we'll start with from the need. And as Tamar said, the CZ quality is really on the focus of Libris, I think, in the last years more strongly, I think. And if you all remember, you all know the Data Excellence Initiative that we started in 2022, and we are continuing with this, with also in the community zone, but also in other areas of content and product. In the community zone, the focus really led us to improve the quality, specifically on books collections. Okay, and we are already in a place where the most used books collection are already in high quality. For example, the score, the bibliographic score of the CD records climbed in the past year from 7.2.8 to more than 7.6, which really is the output of the team's efforts. And when we look forward to 24, we really want to enhance and increase the scope and to really deal with books collections above 100 activations, which is almost 1,000 collections. That's a lot. But how we are doing this? We utilize more sources, okay? Providers, MARC records, the Library of Congress. Last year, we also utilized books in print. We trying to use and develop more tools to do it, okay? For example, Alma is working with MARC, but providers not always work with MARC. They may work with Onyx, with Bits, with other formats. So we developed a way to transform these non-MARC feeds to MARC and give you a better MARC record at the end. And AI, as Tamar said, is another tool to help in this effort. Okay, we already, and I think everybody in the industry, we talk about it. We look forward, and we also already see with many platforms and many things that we use, automatical summaries and suggestions and so on. And we in Libris really wanted to research and investigate what we can do with AI to help us with this big task of the CZ quality. Please, Tamar and Elizabeth.
All right, so I'm going to talk about the need from the customer perspective. As longtime users of the Alma CZ, we know that some providers are unable to share detailed metadata with Libris, so their Alma Community Zone CZ records have minimal metadata. But we know robust metadata is needed in Primo so users can search and browse and discover resources, evaluate their usefulness, and link to related resources through things like subject headings and the shelf browse. And we also know that standardized metadata such as Library of Congress subject headings, LCSH, Library of Congress classification, LCC, and Dewey Decimal Classification, DDC, can be used by libraries for collections analyses in Alma and Alma Analytics. So we can get a better grasp on what we have in our collections, where we have gaps, and how we are supporting our different subject areas we offer at our university. So with the public availability of generative AI, we have this opportunity to apply a new tool to our field to help fill in the missing metadata. So I was really excited about trying this out.
So what's going on? What we're doing? So this is really just a very short visualization of the process. We take the PDF, the original full text of the book. It can be PDF, it can be also EPUB, maybe we tried a little bit with also text files. And then we use it as an input for our AI metadata generator. The AI metadata generator is a tool, and we will talk more about what's going on there inside in later slide. But eventually, it's a tool that works with a LLM, large language model. And we are asking the model questions, and we are processing and improving the answers that we get, so they will be good enough to be on the enriched mark record at the end. When we talk about metadata, currently we talk about metadata in language to detect what is the language of the resource, summary, description. I think we will use in this session in summary and description also, and subject headings. And the subject headings are according to the Library of Congress authority. And as we know, as we said, more to come. We will add more data fields along the year. And the output looks like this. And I think those of you who already saw it in TZ can identify. We have the language in 041. I will say a word about it later. We have the abstract in 520. We have the SE subject heading in 650. You can see that at the end of each metadata field, we have a subfield 7, which points on the source of the metadata. And in this case, we decided, although it's not common, I mean, in regular cataloging, we don't put subfield 7 on every metadata. I took this from the internet. I wrote it myself. But as we are really taking our first steps with AI, and it's very important, I think for us and also for the community, to really know which are the fields that are AI generated, we decided together with the Community Zone Management Group to use this subfield. We also have 588 as a general note on the mark record that says that part of the metadata in this record was created by AI. Currently, this field is not searchable, but it will be searchable in later release. Currently, and we will point it later in the slides to the documentation, we recommend customers to search for these records by using the 035 field that we use to indicate that this is an AI-enriched record. And the link to the documentation will be sent, and you can follow the instruction there. Note about 041, you don't see there the subfield 7. Okay, this is something that we still discuss on the best way to implement. We think that we have direction, how to do it correctly. I mean, to also answer and follow the cataloging rules, but also to be clear that sometimes this data comes from AI. And the documentation and also the records will be updated according to our decision, also with the CZMG, the Community Zone Management Group. So the journey really started, I think, with the idea, okay, and the question, okay, what we can do with AI. And to start this process, we started to do some proof of concept, and I think we started on June or July last year. And we collaborated with the Clarivate's data science team, great team from Clarivate that are doing really, really interesting and cool stuff with AI, with data science, and I mean, really across the company, Web of Science and with patents and many, many things. And we created like a core team, a strong team that actually can, analyze and start research this thing. We chose 1,000 titles. And we started to play and run the AI queries on them. After we got, to a sufficient level of quality of results that we were happy with, we started to test them. First, we compared them with the metadata of the enriched records, because for these records, we already have good mark records. So decided to compare what, for example, which subject headings we already had in the CZ enriched mark record, comparing to the subjects that the AI generated. And using some also manual, but also some automatical comparison mechanism, we said, okay, this is similar or this is really not similar. This is one thing that we did. Second, that we worked with a group of librarians, okay, mostly in Libris and Clarivate, but also Elizabeth, and she will tell about her experience in this. And we manually checked these records, and we gave them a score and to make sure that we are on the right direction. The conclusion of this proof of concept was, yes, we want to continue to first stage with only language summary and subjects. Okay, we decided for some fields, we decided that we're not ready yet, but for these fields, we decided, yes, we want to go and develop them more towards our release, this release in February. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to talk about my experience as a librarian, helping Ex Libris check the AI as the tool develops. So back in summer 2023, I agreed to participate in the project. And then in August 2023, met with Ex Libris to discuss mark fields to potentially generate via AI. And Ex Libris decided to focus on 041 for language, 050 for Library of Congress classification, 082 for Dewey Decimal classification, 520 for summary, and 650 for subject. Then in August 2023, I checked AI generated 041, 050, 082, 520, and 650 for 4 books and compared them to the existing records for those books. And a couple things I noticed were that for 650, AI was generating keywords as subjects, and they generally were about the book. They were getting that right, but they weren't LCSH or any other controlled vocabulary. And I said it was important that they follow a controlled vocabulary like LCSH that is in the rest of our records. So we have subject control. Users can discover a book in the Primo and find the subject, click on it, see all the other books with the subject. We can use the subjects on our backend to do collection analyses. So it's important that we have controlled subjects. And then also I noticed for 050 and 082, AI was generally able to correctly choose the beginning part of a call number, but it really struggled with the subsequent digits where the classification gets more specific. And then in September 23, I checked another batch of records with the same fields and had some similar findings. So next slide. So then Ex Libris did some talking amongst themselves to decide how to define the project and move forward. And then in December 2023, they committed to focusing on 041, 520, and 650 for now. So I also reviewed a batch of AI-generated 650 fields and looked for general trends in them. And for each book, I reviewed the keyword subjects chosen by AI and AI's first attempt to map those keyword subjects to LCSH. And AI has definitely gotten better at this over time. The first attempt was rough, but it has gotten iteratively better, which is great. And then for each book, I reviewed 2 sets of subjects, one based on AI reading the whole book and one based on AI reading just the first 15 pages. For scholarly nonfiction works, the set from the first 15 pages tended to be better, which really surprised me, but I think that's because the opening part of the book includes the table of contents and maybe an introduction or a first chapter that just summarizes the book as a whole, so it gives AI the overview of the book. And then in December 2023, I also reviewed AI-generated 520 fields. And again, for each book, I reviewed 2 summaries, one based on reading the whole book and one based on just the first 15 pages. Again, for scholarly nonfiction works, the set from the first 15 pages tended to be better. Then in January, February 2024, Ex Libris asked the Community Zone Management Group which mark fields to use to show a CBC record contains AI-generated metadata. And as David described, we agreed on 588. That's the best field for this purpose because it's actually designed to display the source of a record's metadata. But because that field is not currently indexed, we also agreed that 035 would include this indication as a backup. And then we agreed, as David explained, for the 7 subfield to be on every field that has been generated by AI. For the 520s and 650s, we're still talking about the 041s. And then also the CZMG reviewed a small number of AI-generated records nearing release and provided feedback, especially about subject headings for fiction. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And also then in February 2024, the librarian group checked the 041, 520, and 650 on records nearing the release point. And this time we checked 2 versions of each summary, a long one and a short one. Sometimes long was better because it conveyed more information, but sometimes it just got repetitive, so short was better. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I noticed when reviewing the subject headings and the summaries. So with the subject headings, I think AI's gotten to a point where and many times it is able to pick good LCSH headings right off the bat. So for this book, Exploring Religion in Our Time, it was able to pick religion and politics, religion and state, religion and culture, globalization, religious aspects, that is a heading, subheading pair, which is cool, and religious pluralism. AI is thus developing and getting better and even able to pick subheadings in some cases. That's something we definitely want to see it grow and expand in its ability to do. Now, one challenge though is that for 650A, AI needs to capture what a book is about, the subject, not what a book is, the genre. And this seemed to especially be hard for AI when it comes to fiction. For example, for Finding Audrey, a humorous fiction book for teens about a teen who learns to cope with mental health challenges, the subject headings chosen by AI, humor in fiction and fiction, are incorrect because those are what the book is. It's not what the book is about. However, the subject headings chosen by AI, mental health and adolescence, were pretty good. And then ideally, eventually, if AI could add the subfield V for form, that would be the appropriate place to put fiction, and that would make this even better. Another challenge is that sometimes AI chooses a subject that superficially looks correct, but if you look it up in LCSH, you'll realize LCSH defines this term more narrowly. For example, for Materiality of Writing in Early Mesopotamia, a book about text-bearing artifacts from ancient societies, the AI-chosen subject, societies, was incorrect because societies in LCSH refers to social clubs and organizations. Also, for The Philosophy of Human Rights, a book that explores universal human rights, the AI-chosen subject heading Universalism was incorrect because in LCSH, universalism refers to the religious belief that all people will attain salvation. So there are a lot of aspects to choosing subject headings. Some are easy for AI to figure out, some are not so easy, but it's really good that we're doing this review work to try to make sure to get AI started on the right footing. Next slide, please. And I'll talk a little bit more about the summaries now. We found that AI generally did the best job of summarizing nonfiction scholarly works, probably because the table of contents and introductory material provide a good overview of the book. So in this case, I've got just one example, and I don't want to read you the whole paragraph, but you can read it in the slides. The book's Animals and Medicine, the contribution of animal experiments to the control of disease, and the summary tells you what the book is about, the diseases that are covered, the medical treatments that are covered, and it's reasonably well written. So AI can produce pretty decent summaries for many nonfiction books. Next slide, please. There are some challenges, though, associated with AI generating summaries. One is that AI tends to describe many things as fascinating or captivating, and in the wrong context, this can seem childish or insensitive. For example, for a book called Trace Metals and Infectious Diseases, a scientific book, AI concluded, "Get ready to dive into the fascinating world of microbes and metals." And this just seems childish when directed toward a scholarly audience. Also, AI tends to be very positive about every book, and this can seem overly promotional. For example, for the book Earth 2020, An Insider's Guide to a Rapidly Changing Planet, AI said it provides essential reading for anyone seeking a deeper understanding of the past, present, and future of our planet. So AI has classified this book as essential in its field, and one wonders how many books will AI say are essential in their fields? So we have to watch for that. Also, AI sometimes draws too heavily on the wrong part of the front matter, such as a series description or author note. For example, a scholarly nonfiction work included the phrase in the summary, "A heartfelt book expressing gratitude to the people who supported and guided the author throughout their research and writing process." And we can see here that AI read the author's thank you that they put in the front of their book and mistakenly thought that was part of the book's contents. Also, just in general, fiction, poetry, and biographies are a bigger challenge. The summary has to be based on the whole book, reading the whole plot and being able to summarize it. And it also needs to convey genre and appeal to its intended audience. A book for children needs to have a summary that explains why it's going to appeal to children. A romance novel summary needs to focus on the relationship between the characters and appeal to that audience. A thriller's summary needs to focus on the tense, suspense-filled situations and how it's going to appeal to that audience. So these are some summary related factors to consider. Next slide, please. Another important thing to do is to watch for bias in AI. And really, we often may see bias throughout our work as librarianship. And so AI is just another area where we need to be sure to be careful about this. And because sometimes AI may replicate biases found in the books themselves. For example, when producing a summary, AI might copy dated or insensitive language found in the book. Also, it can be difficult for AI to summarize a book's claims without seeming to endorse them. For example, for the book 21 Days to Master Numerology, AI said this is a self-help guide that utilizes the principles of numerology to provide readers with insights into their inner selves and life's paths. It's better if AI can attribute claims like this to the author without necessarily seeming to agree with them. For example, a better AI-generated statement in the summary was, the author aims to help readers gain self-awareness, understand their life's purpose, and achieve personal growth. We also are aware that library standards such as LCSH, LCC, and DDC are not without bias, and we know AI must be trained to use library standards, but if the standards themselves are biased, AI will replicate their biases. So as librarians, we need to update our standards by changing outdated terms and adding needed new terms so systems that use our standards can do better. And the changes should be made in a way machines can easily understand so we can efficiently apply them retroactively. Also, as a human, when I describe resources, I take extra care with resources that document or address topics related to human rights abuses, genocides, atrocities, and disasters. And I think we need to ask, can AI be equally careful, and how can we maintain oversight so we make sure these summaries and subject headings are chosen respectfully and truthfully? So, thanks.
David, you're muted.
How does it work? How from really a full text we really finish up with a subject that we can really check and test and actually eventually load to the record. So as we said, we have three fields: subject, description, and language. The subjects, I have to say, were the most hard and extensive work was needed really to make them good enough. And I think the hard part is really that it's not only, give description that, I mean, when description is really, I mean, free text, and every free text that is good enough is good enough. With subjects, we really have the challenge of matching them to the LCSH authorities. And if we have a really, really good subject, really, I mean, this is true. This is what this book about. And we put it on 650, second indicator 0, but it's not an LCSH. So that's a problem. So this was the challenge. How we did it with subjects, the first steps were really with the AI. And with the AI, as everybody, I think, have experienced ChatGPT or Gemini or anything, I mean, it's not a code. You write what you want to know, how you write it. And there are so many tips and so many ways how to do it correctly and how to play and how to manipulate to get good results. And this is fascinating. But eventually what we ask is give 5 subject, and we say specifically Library of Congress subject for the book. Okay, we make sure the AI knows what is a Library of Congress subject, and then we ask this question. And after we get these subjects, we start with the post-process that we do, and we're trying to match the AI-generated subjects against the vocabulary, of course, that we know. And in this process, this is not only AI. This is actually a logic, a code that we need to write and think, okay, we have this. How can we find? We know that it's a good subject. We know that it's not really, really LCSH. How can I really do the match and find the matching LCSH term? And this is what we worked hard on. And I think eventually we have a good result to start with. With the description, again, we started with one way and we changed it, but eventually what we have now, we ask the AI questions. We ask what is this book about, who is the audience, what the author intended when writing the book. And then after this, we ask the AI in another call, please take these answers and rephrase them to a short summary. In this way, we really were able to get a summary that is not really inventing things and not taking things from the internet and other stuff. It really focused on what we want to know about the book. But as Elizabeth said, and I will repeat it, I mean, eventually the results for scholarly and academic books are much better than fiction and books. And the reasons are because, you know, academic books, it's very easy to answer these questions, okay? It's not really easy to answer what is this, I mean, what was the intention of the book when it's really a thriller. And this is the challenge that we will need to work on. The language is a relatively easy task for the AI. We ask what is the language of the book, and the answer is in most cases correct. And then the post-process is only to change and make sure that we get it in the right format that we can really use in the MARC record. I talked about the post-process of the subject. So these are 3 examples of what we know how to do. So for example, the AI gave us artists and hyphen correspondence. So the AI knows that LCSH are working with subdivisions, okay? But does it know that this correspondence needs to be in subfield X, subfield Y, subfield V? Not always. But when we take this and we work on it, we are able to match it to this correct form of artist and then subfield V correspondence. And we can split it to the correct main and sub. We also can use the internal pointers inside the SSH vocabulary, the 450s. So for example, if the AI gave us professional development, we can know that this term is a 450 of another authority, and we will do the to the match, and we'll bring it we'll bring the career development, which is good. This way, and if we have a current vocabulary in the tool, we also are able to be current and make sure that we will not give, as possible, outdated terms, and we will keep up with changes that Library of Congress and the community are doing in the authorities. Another thing that we do is a similarity score, contextual similarity score. So we have business strategy. Business strategy, yes, this is what it's about, but we need to find the correct LCSA term. So we're asking a tool, please find us the best matching term and give it a score. And for example, from business strategy, we got business planning, which is similar enough. You can see that the score is high. And in this case, we can use this term for the record. We have other things in this code, and we are working to expand it and make it better. But of course, everything needs to be tested and designed and tested and developed. So this is a process. So let's now talk about the recent release. On February, I think you heard about it. We went out with the communication in the listserv, and we have an article about it in the Knowledge Center. And we decided to go live with 200 titles. 200 titles, we know they will not change the CZ quality. And many cases that you are not activating these books. But the reason we went live with these books is really to say, to start and to say that we are here. We are moving ahead with this initiative. We wanted to really to work and to have it out so the community can actually see the records, give us feedback, okay, and help us to get better and improve as we move forward. These 200 titles are eBook Central titles. We work very closely with eBook Central team and product on this initiative. And there were books that didn't have any subject or description before. So the subject and description were added and added value to the record. We didn't delete good subjects and descriptions to display the AI, of course. We did quality assurance on each title by our librarians. But it's important to say that we didn't do manual cataloging. For example, we didn't add, okay, this book really needs to have this subject, so I will add it. We didn't do this. We really kept it with the AI generated subjects and description, and we tried to really expose what we got from the AI and what we got from the tool that we have. We do plan to continue with around 100 books per month, to continue to see the improvement of the tool and to get more feedback from the community as we go. Few important things to say about the release. And we're not, the fact that we went live only with 3 subjects, it means that we're not going to present a full MARC record. This is important. And you know, we know that we have other metadata fields that are really, really important, but they are for a future development. Currently, we have only these 3 fields. The subject and description can be missing sometimes because AI didn't provide good metadata. So in some titles, there will be subjects, but no description. In some, there will be description, but no subject. And in some, there will be only one subject because we will not want to put in CZ data that is not good enough for now, that's for sure. The subjects, in most cases, the process really provided only the 650A and not the subdivisions. We do have records with subdivisions, X, Y, Z, but in most cases, we kept the 650A only. And also, there are maybe important subjects which are missing. For example, if you have a book that talks about, I don't know, history of Ecuador in, I don't know, a specific time or specifically war. So yes, there will be it may say Ecuador but not history. It will may name the war but not Ecuador. We are not we still really cannot really give all the subjects and all the angles that the book is about, but every subject that is added to the book we believe is valuable. The language, we added it only when the current language that we had in the record was wrong, and AI found correct one. This was not so common. Only about 5% of the titles had wrong language. In most cases, it was English as default, when the actual book was, I don't know, in Spanish and other language. Here, as I said in the beginning, eventually we will override the 008 language. And eventually, we believe we will also add 041 with the indication of the subfield 7 to indicate and make it clear that the language was edited by AI. When we will do it, of course, we will update documentation and fix the records that were released. When we look forward to future development and enhancement, and I think that we work by priorities. We know that we cannot do everything at once, as although we wanted to, and but really, I think we need to go step by step, as the quality and really needs to be our focus. So first thing that we want to do is really improve the quality of the subject and the description that we already went live with. We cannot and will not be able to manual quality check, to QA every record that we produce eventually when we will want to use it on more records. And this is why we really need to improve the quality into a level that we will be able to say, yes, the quality is good. We can check sample of the records, we can do automatic checks, but we will not really go over each record. Also, the description, and as Elizabeth said, we have challenges there, and we really need to work and improve them. But I think the focus for the next few months is really subjects. Next, we really want to do classification. Classification, if you remember, when Elizabeth says, we did it in the proof of concept back in the summer. I think we had good results, but I think that back then we decided that the work that we need to invest is too much for this phase. But when we move forward, we do want to do classification. Classification is super important for collection management, for many other reasons. And I think generally in the community zone, we have a challenge in this area, which we do want to improve. So this is something that we will want to work on. And when I say classification, to do it by AI, AI will be one of the tools, but we do believe, and if I would be very happy to have to hear ideas from you about ways and initiatives and things that were done in the past, because we're not the first ones to have this problem, how we can generate classification for a book. And this is something that we really want to analyze and research, and hopefully also to go live with classification. Another area that we want to focus is really extract the metadata from the book itself. And we know we can read the book and say, okay, this book talks about this and this and these subjects. But hey, in most cases, in the reverse title page, not in most cases, but in some cases, in the reverse title page, there will be the information, the Library of Congress classification, the Library of Congress subject headings, the DOI, everything. So just take it from there. Yeah, so we do want to do it. It's AI, but maybe also other capabilities. But we do want to be able to read the full text if we already have it, and make sure that the title we have is correct. The authors that we have are correct. Maybe we have more authors. The publishing information, table of content, we can use it and put it in 505. And of course, the subject and classification. Another interesting initiative that we want to explore is metadata for metadata. So, okay, we can do metadata from full text. But the full text is a challenge. Not always we do have the full text. The full text is, the property, and this is, what our providers really selling. And also when we talk about other use cases, for example, if we want to use this tool in Alma as a cataloging assistant, if you have the print book, or you don't have now access to, even if you have access to the book, to the online book, you can read it on the platform. We don't have really the PDF to load to the system. The question that we want to answer and check is really what we can do with metadata. For example, if I have a record that has title, a meaningful title, and maybe a summary, maybe also a table of content, maybe not. Maybe I have subject and I don't have classification. Maybe I have classification and I don't have subjects. Can we create subject or classification from this metadata that I have using some of the capabilities that we already developed? This is really interesting, and we really want to do it later this year. And another thing that we really want to think of is automatic quality assurance. It's a problem because we cannot compare it to the MARC record, because if we have it, we would have used it. We do need to find a way to check and have some quality threshold, which is automatic. There are many interesting things that can be done with the AI, and one of the things is really to ask the AI how the AI did. And in many cases, it can, of course, it's not a human, but in many cases it can give a good answers. This is one way that we check, and we also want to look at other options. So this is really our road plan for this year for development. It's a lot, and it's not easy, but I think we are aiming high here, and we really want to run with this and to really explore what AI can bring us. Our plans are really, I said that we plan to do 100 titles in month, but eventually we do want to scale up to more titles, hopefully this year. And when I say more titles, I really mean to go to mass production, to the records that we are brief now in the CZ, and can really benefit from quality, subject, and description, and hopefully other metadata fields. But this will happen alongside the quality improvement. Okay, it's important to say that we'll not do things unless we believe that the quality is enabling this.
Great, thank you very much, Elizabeth and David. That was fascinating. I've heard it so many times, and still, every time I hear it, I'm really excited about the potential and the opportunity that we have here. We have a lot of questions, a lot of really interesting questions. Any question that we won't have time to address in the session, I'll add it in either in the newsletter or in the mailing list, also where we'll post the link to the recorded session and to the presentation. You can see here on the closing slide the address, the designated email address for AI enriched questions. If you want, I'll post it in the chat soon. Let me just end the slide and stop sharing my screen, so we'll see our speakers here, and let's head to the Q&A
All right,
part.
so let me help out with that. I did drop the email into the chat, so everyone should be able to access that. There are a couple of questions in the chat. If you want to drop those over to the Q&A, we'll go through this in the order that they were submitted. Why did you choose the summary Mark 520 instead of the enhanced table of contents Mark 505 note?
The 505 note are, I believe, should really reflect the chapter titles, if I understand correctly the question. And we cannot really ask AI, I mean, we can, but I mean, to predict or to say what can be the chapter titles, we will do it with the extract PDF. When we really reading and copying the title chapters from the book. The 520 description actually can be free text that the AI generates.
Right, so the 505 will be extracted using a different type of tool, one that just reads the book itself, whereas the 520 actually requires generative AI to produce.
Great, thank you. Our next question is, was the generator given access to LCSH? How was it able to generate correct LCSH? And that said, Claudette's part of, okay, so how was it able to generate the correct LCSH?
Okay, so first, AI knows what is LCSH, and many times it gives good subjects that are really built with LCSH. We do have access to LCSH in the tool, in the post-processing, to really make sure that AI doesn't hallucinate, doesn't really sure that this is LCSH, but this is not, to make sure that the output really will be correct.
Great, thank you. When dealing
I do want to say one thing about this. I mean, one challenge that we have is really that the vocabulary that now we have, that we already have in CZ, is not the full LCSH really. I mean, because LCSH is evolving, is growing. And if I have a book that, or LC Library of Congress will have a book that doesn't really catalog the act and they have a new subject or a new structure of subdivision, this will be a new one. And this is a challenge. And we have several ways to cope this. One way is to increase this database with more examples from many sources. And more interesting way is somehow to teach the AI to use subdivisions, even starting with the easy ones like, I don't know, fiction or the chronological ones. But these are the two directions that we think of.
Great. When dealing with collections that have older materials, such as Project Gutenberg, how are you accounting for changes in language meaning over time in order to generate accurate subject headings?
It's a good question. I think till now we didn't have to really cope with this because we worked mostly on recently published books. I think from the last 10, 20 years overall. And when we will need to think about it, yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, I think we have discussed the fact that different, I guess, different genres of books, different types of books require different AI approaches. Like we were able to notice that scholarly nonfiction was very different than fiction, for example. And I think as Ex Libris expands use of this tool on different bodies of books, there will be probably some tweaks needed for handling different types.
But I would say that AI eventually is trained also on old text. Okay, so it's not like the AI is trained only on really, I mean, recent books or recent websites. So it will be interesting to see, but I think there will be it's not like that it really will not know everything that
that's a good point.
reading.
The AI engine has read all those older books already, so perhaps it will have a better ability to contextualize than we might assume.
Cool. All right, so this question, I believe, refers to the note added to the 588 saying some metadata is generated by AI, but could that note be more specific about the exact AI tool that was used so that library staff know more about the LLM that was used to generate this metadata?
It's a good question. I think that putting it is, and I think it's a legitimate request, but I would say what are the challenges here? First, currently we use it with OpenAI, with GPT-4. During the way we used also 3.5, and we also used other LLMs. Can I say that we will continue to use OpenAI? No, this is very, very dynamic. Okay, the quality is dynamic. Okay, every time things are changing, and we may do experiments and see that we get better results from another LLM. The pricing is also a consideration here. We need to remember that everything costs money. Okay, we need to pay the LLM. We're not working with ChatGPT with free user, so this is also a thing that we need to take into consideration. So for now, we are not specifying in the record what is the LLM that is used. We can think about updating it somehow in the knowledge center in the article, but this may be changed in the future.
So we have a great comment here. I've looked at some of the records that have AI generated summaries and subject headings and find that they are vague and sometimes too broad. Is this a case where something is better than nothing? Is more work being done to fine tune and make the results more precise and therefore useful?
Elizabeth, you want to start?
Sure. Well, I'd say thus far, AI has generally been able to get 650A and occasionally a subdivision, but for the most part, the idea was this is, yes, something is better than nothing. This is a good start, and eventually, we need to do this proof of concept, proof that this can be done to a basic level, and then build it up to a better level. So Ex Libris is going to work on adding more subdivisions. That's my understanding, David, and perhaps we'll, I imagine, would we be able to pass through and even redo some of the initial batch of records once things are improved to make them even better. So this is not the final form. This is the best AI can do, and it's never going to get any better. It is going to improve over time.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I guess sort of along that same vein, the next question is, what fields did you decide weren't a good fit?
So I think in AI, in mark record, there are fields that you don't want to invent. You don't want to give AI because it's either correct or either incorrect. Okay, the title, there is one answer for this title. The authors, it's very clear what is the answer, what are the authors. And so there are fields that are more appropriate to use a generative AI, like things that really don't have, I mean, one cataloger can give one subject and another cataloger can give another subject, and both will be valid. So these fields are more fit to AI. There are fields that we decided currently that are not good fit because we're not ready yet, as I said, with classification, but we do hope to work on them and use them after all. Yeah.
Great. I'm going to apologize in advance for mispronouncing this name, but there's a question here if you're familiar with Brutzowick's article. I'm so sorry, I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Their article on using ChatGPT to generate MARC records, and if so, how do these results compare to their examples?
So sorry to say I wasn't aware, and of course I will search for it. And yeah, it's interesting. I know, and I also talk to customers that, and actually as day-to-day work, people are using catalogers are using a GPT, and I hear this from friends in libraries and customers. So yes, it's clear that we're not the only ones here, and I would be very happy to learn from any experiment or something that is happening. I think this is one of the things that are good with librarians, that we like to share metadata, we like to share the experience, to learn from each other, and I mean, for the sake of good metadata for all of us.
Absolutely. So maybe we'll ask this customer if you are willing to share maybe a link. If you send it to us on the Q&A, we can share that out as well. I think other people might be interested in reading that as well. So thank you. There was a follow-up question here about which LLM program was used. David, you mentioned this.
Yeah, so it's OpenAI, the company that's actually behind the ChatGPT that we all know. Currently, we use GPT-4. This is the version that we use.
In the future, will Libris continue in this kind of careful review and work of the AI-generated metadata?
In the near future, yes. That's for sure. And of course, we will not. We care. I mean, we don't want to do more harm than good here. That's for sure. But eventually, and we all know the size of the CZ and the challenge that we have with the quality there. We are doing this to do mass production and really to be able to make a change in the CZ. And we will not do it unless we're ready and the quality is good. But eventually, we will need to see how we do it automatically.
Thank you. Was the same bot used for all the tasks? I'm thinking a custom LCACH bot might be better than trying to build one big cat bot. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean when you say bot. Eventually, I will say, and I hope this answers. Basically, we talk to the AI. We write a prompt. This prompt is written mostly in Python. We give it the full text, and then we have the prompt, which is the text with the the instructions and what we want to do, which format to give us the answers, and so on. Most cases, we try to do everything on the same prompt because we pay on each. Of course, we pay on each call. But if we see that the quality will be good with repetitive calls and it's not really too expensive, we will do this. I hope I answered. If someone else want to ask it again, so please.
Okay, and we can always get back to people later. And as I said, we have the email address. If you have follow-up questions, you can always send that here as well. And actually, in the context of prompts, so the next question happens to be about that. If you can share some more details about how the prompts were written. For example, was it prompted to produce summaries that were for a scholarly audience, formal, not editorialized, etc.? And was it given documentation on LCSH?
So yes, first I want to say that the fun and also the work with AI is that you try and then you try again and you try a bit differently till you get a good result. We tried a lot of things. Eventually, yes, currently we tell the AI that you're a librarian. Okay, you are a librarian. Please do this and this and this and this. We tried other stuff. We tried with summaries. We tried. You are the publisher. You are, I don't know. I think we even tried you have a bookstore and you want to sell this book, something like this. But eventually, yes, we say you're a librarian. Elizabeth, any comment or?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just was thinking, yeah, probably telling AI to think like the publisher or think like the bookstore is going to produce the overly promotional text. Hopefully we as librarians are a little more moderate in our assessment of the merits of each book.
But I have to say, with description, I mean, we try to use this role, I mean, with others, really to tune the tone of the description. And one side is really to be promoting and so on, but the other side is really to be really lame and I mean.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we do want the books to still appeal to their intended audience, and yeah, a badly written summary just makes a book sound like nobody would want to read it. So there's definitely a balance.
Yeah, but also I noticed that each librarian and each one that I asked really liked some other tone of this description. Some wanted it more appealing, some wanted it more really concise and really detailed. So we need to find the middle way here.
Right. So I think we'll have time for just a couple more questions. But there's a really good one here. With so many books that could benefit from enhancement, how are you selecting which books to target each month?
Good question. I will say, and so first, we need the need. Okay, we are working with books that lack this metadata. This is one thing. Second, we need access to the full text. Third, we will focus more on non-fiction books. Okay, we understand that the fiction gives us a challenge, a quality challenge that we are, and is not. I mean, and with non-fiction and mostly scholarly books, we're doing much better work. So yes, we will prioritize this book in this year for sure.
Great. So I think our last question will be, if some providers of CZ metadata repetitively refresh the metadata files they send to Libris, how will you avoid losing the AI-supported metadata improvements you've achieved and need to re-execute steps you have previously taken on that provider's metadata? That metadata ecosystem is not very efficient overall if publishers don't incorporate your improvements into their files. Very interesting, that back and forth question.
I agree. And with Community Zone, we have a challenge of one bib policy. We have one bib that needs to be the best, and to be some way. I mean, not always we can have it with all the feeds from one publisher, and sometimes we need to take this from this publisher and this from this source. But we have some guidelines that are directing us here. First, AI will not override authorized data. Okay, if we have authorized data from provider, from Library of Congress, from human that worked on it, we will not override it with AI. Secondly, we will not override. We will override, if we can, AI metadata with authorized data when we get it. Okay, we don't see a reason why not. If we have it and it's good, we will take it. The how, it's an interesting question, and our librarians are working to do it. But yes, it's a challenge. But I want to say that when we have in Community Zone a good record, we don't usually manipulate it again and again and again. Okay, if we can, in the merge rules and in the rules that we have in the loading, we try not to do it. So there is a risk here, but I think it's something that we can mitigate.
Yeah, in general, the CZ merge rules would never, they should be designed so a lower quality record does not override a good record. So that's something the merge rules should not allow to happen.
I agree.
Great. So we have a lot more questions that were posted. We have these all. We will save them. Tamar, David, and Elizabeth will have access to all of these questions and respond accordingly. Thank you very much to the three of our panelists today. Thank you, everyone who's attended. We will also share out the recording of this session so you can rewatch or share with your colleagues and friends. Thank you very much, and have a great day, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you all very much. Bye.
Thank you.